like to call this January 29, 2019 regular meeting USC 500 to order, please. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Westphal, please call the roll.
Harold Brown.
Present.
Maxine Drew.
Present.
Janie Humphreys.
Present.
Brenda Jones.
Present.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Present.
Valdina Nguyen.
Present.
Stacy Yeager.
Present.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
I would like to add something to the agenda.
Who made the motion? Would you agree to and second withdraw the motion to approve for a second?
Yes. Yes.
Like a motion then to amend the agenda?
I'd like to add an item D, as in Daisy, under this report of the superintendent. An update on the enrollment procedures for 2019-20 school year.
2019 school year?
2019-2020.
2019-2020. Would you like to repeat your motion, please?
I would like an update on the enrollment procedures for the 2019-2020 school year to the reports of the superintendent. Item D as in Daisy.
Been moved. I need a second, please.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to add item D like Daisy under number 5, reports of the superintendent, update of enrollment procedures for 2019-2020 school year. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Need a motion now to approve the agenda as amended.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you. Communications. Good evening, Dr. Faust.
Good evening. So thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming in this cold weather. I love it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Remain positive. We're hopeful. But I want to first thank my colleague, Dr. Jason Strickland, for the work that he's done and what he's doing for the district, what he's going to be moving on to do. It's been a pleasure working with you. The laughter, the laughter that we've had is just has been good. And so I want to thank you for the work that you've done. And I know that, you know, again, I'm just a telephone call away if you ever need someone to talk to. Thank you.
Item B, Mind Up Program Grant Presentation. Dr. Faust and Ms. Stewart. Lisa Garcia.
Good evening, Madam President, Board, Dr. Faust. It's my pleasure to be before you. I have with me Beth Raddick. She's the Executive Director of Baptist Trinity Lutheran Legacy Foundation. And I'm excited that she's here with me because she will be presenting a check in the amount of $25,000. I've been working with Dr. Faust around building the tools and strategies for our trauma-sensitive and resilient schools initiative. So we will be utilizing those funds for our Mind Up program, which is around the neuroscience of social emotional learning, that we'll be able to provide those strategies directly in the classroom. But I would like to give Beth the mic and allow her to present the check to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I just want to say a couple of quick things. First of all, our Health Education Committee started this procedure a couple of years ago. They did some research with some local districts to find out what the needs were. They didn't want to just invest resources without figuring out where they were necessary. They talked to several schools and figured out that asthma treatment supplies, mental health training, and health screening equipment were the top 3 needs. So last year was our first year of this grant program, and we worked with 6 schools, including you all. You got $25,000 last year as well, for pulse oximetry oximeters, stethoscopes, and asthma treatment supplies. We gave away a total of $112,500 last year, again, to a total of 6 schools. This year, the board increased it to $200,000 and also to 11 schools. And all those schools, both years, have crossed state lines. And so altogether this year, we expect to impact as many as 150,000 students in grades pre-K through 12. So one quick thing. First of all, we're thrilled to be able to honor the legacies of Baptist Medical Center and Trinity Lutheran Hospital, both of which closed in 2003. Some of you might remember them. I didn't grow up here. But so this is what we do. They left these funds behind for us in the trust of those 2 foundations, which merged, and we're very pleased to be able to use those resources in a number of ways, all related to health. And these grants are, I think, special note to me. I used to work for Commerce Bank, where I gave away a lot of money all year long. But tax-supported institutions like public schools are often not eligible to apply for grants to private foundations. So I want to acknowledge that I realize how precious these dollars are to you, and I know that they're going to be put to great use. So thank you very much for having me here tonight, and congratulations on this great award. Thank you.
Thank you. Our superintendent will gladly accept a big check.
It's not legal tender. We already mailed the real one.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We know how important your services are. I, too, like to congratulate you, Dr. Strickland, as you move to other things. And not only are we a phone number away, we still have your phone number. So remember that. And also always want to wish the best to all our retirees and those who choose to do different things. I had the opportunity on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, to visit Northwest Middle School and do worms. Yeah, with gloves, with gloves. Ms. Humphreys and myself participated in their gardening with Ms. Pomeroy and Congresswoman Sharice Davids. So it was an experience. Worm casings. And another time, Dr. Faust, we need to highlight and find out more about the giant sweet potatoes that they grow. Giant. I mean, you know I'm exaggerating, but they're like giant. Secondly, today I had the opportunity, and I have a copy for you, Dr. Faust. You know that USD 500 has the honor of having the Teacher of the Year this year, Ms. Whitney Morgan. And so on the floor of the House, we recognized the entire team. And so I was able to present her with a certificate of appreciation, and we have a copy for the central office. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other members, please.
On Sunday, January 20th, I had an opportunity to go to Wyandotte County Lake to attend the Eagle Days that were being sponsored by the library. Had an opportunity to see for the very first time a vulture. They had actual birds that were there, and allowed many of the people who attended to take pictures, and it was fully enjoyed by most of the parents, or by the parents who were there, as well as they had a section set out for children who could color and do various activities that related to Eagle Days. On Monday, January 21st, I did attend the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday at the Reardon Center, where many of our students received special awards for scholarships. On Thursday, January 24th, I went to Grant Elementary School. They had a first semester student award and family night, and then they had an opportunity to allow the parents to come and see the new addition to the school, as well as passing out awards. And I had an opportunity to speak to Kim Beck, who was a math teacher, and she showed me the results of the test scores that the students had done in her class and how the majority of them had improved greatly. So she's really focusing on trying to make sure that they are doing what is necessary to help the students learn and improve at their grade level. On Friday, January 25th, I attended the Kansas Academy of Theatrical Arts performance of Bye Bye Birdie, where many of our students from Schlegel, Sumner, J.C. Harmon, Wyandotte, and Washington were there, and it was very, very entertaining. And so that's my report.
Okay. This side?
I'd just like to say, Dr. Strickland, it's been a pleasure working with you. And we will be in touch. You'll be working close to my office in KCMO, so we will get a chance to get together quite frequently. And to the new members of the cabinet, you've been very impressive, and you're kind of, as I told Dennis Covington, you're a breath of fresh air, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
I, too, just want to thank Dr. Strickland and also welcome the new people who come to our district. On the 21st, I participated with the Martin Luther King Day of Service program at Harvesters, and they reach out to so many of us in the metropolitan area, and I think that's critical because we need to be able to feed people every day besides Christmas and Thanksgiving. So that's always a good thing. I still want to put another plug in for Gear Up to remind our 7th and 8th grade parents and students that it is available and they need to take advantage of it as much as possible. It's there, and there's no reason why our kids shouldn't be participating. And it's going to help them in the long run to get ready for college. I attended the legislative breakfast, and that was informative. Got a chance to meet our state legislators as well as to know what the other districts are doing. We had a special board meeting Saturday, and sometimes there's not enough time to do what we need to do here, and we make critical decisions. We have to go that extra mile. So the Saturdays are good because it allows us to get to know each other even more, because sometimes we're thrown in and we're running. But it's also good to have time to really talk about issues, because we get in here and you're trying to get in and get out, but you also want to take care of business, and sometimes it requires more time.
And we do always want to thank staff for coming in on Saturday. We're not here by ourselves.
I'd like to share an invitation that we received from Dr. Kamatuka. Did I pronounce that right, Sarah? He is with KU. He was sitting at the table with several of us at the Diploma Plus Gear Up engagement and graduation, and he reached out to me afterwards with an invitation. He says, we've worked really closely with KCKPS for many years, and it became clear to him during our conversation it might be a good idea for the KU School of Education to host our board on campus at some point so that we can interact and get to know each other. And he wanted us to let him know how many of us would be interested in visiting the KU campus with them. And as most of you know, we provide educational services at the Juvenile Detention Center. And last week I was able to visit there, and I had really good conversations with staff and with several of the students there. And I'll be bringing that to the board at a later date. I have been in many of the preschools and kindergarten and first grade classrooms the past few months. I've walked into classrooms from T.A. Edison to Whitechurch to Banneker to Stony Point South. And what I see is they are so consistent with what they are teaching. We've discussed many times the mobility of our students, and we're doing an excellent job of aligning the curriculum across the district. So when our kids do move, they are still on track. We expect all of our kids to be successful with the new Eureka Math and the Fontes and Pinnell. They provide wonderful guidance and resources for our teachers. I can't tell you how many of the teachers were so thankful for the new resources and the progress they're seeing in their kids already, and it's only halfway through the year. We expect more from our kids than we did 20 years ago. much more. We're challenging them, and they are rising up to the challenge. It is so exciting to be in those classrooms. And I think we need to thank all the teachers, the principals, the curriculum staff that spend hours collaborating and evaluating all these different programs that they could choose from for our students to learn. I want to thank you for all the time you've spent, because it's bearing fruit now. Our kids are succeeding. I went to the Northwest Middle School day of community service. I did not do the worms. I watched and took pictures. I don't care if they did have gloves. I'm not a worm person. Basketball season's here, and Miss Brenda and I have been to several games. The music programs are starting again. Bye Bye Birdie musical was just phenomenal. There's just so many good things going on out in our schools that I challenge you to go to one thing a month if you can. 2 would be best. And if you can go to more, that's fine, but try to carve out time for at least one, because you will come out rejuvenated and very excited about our kids.
Hey, thank you. I, too, attended the legislative breakfast as well as the Martin Luther King celebration. Of course, USD 500. We had the majority of kids getting the scholarships, and it was such a pleasure to see. They didn't have as many this year as they usually have, but it's because of the financial things that they're going through. But we had to continue to support them. And after that, like Jenny said, went to the basketball games. We went to middle school, and then we went over to Sumner we were actually at the middle school, we couldn't really cheer because we had Arrowhead playing Eisenhower, so we were cheering every time a basket went in, regardless of where. But it was awesome to go to Sumner, and they were playing Lincoln Prep, and we were able to cheer. It was wonderful. And then also, I went to Bye Bye Birdie. All of our high schools were represented in that. It was so awesome. It was a free concert. I mean, free play that you could go to. The theatrics were wonderful. And I mean, you talked about being proud. I was so proud to see those young people up there. And then I'm looking forward to coming. They're going to do the Jungle Book in the spring, and that will be for 5-year-old to 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. So I look forward to seeing that. We need to make sure that, if you didn't hear about it, to make sure everybody hear about it. Because all they ask, it's free, but if you want to put a donation in, you can put the donation in, and it's put on. And to see our young people up there, they're going to be great if they continue on. And it's just so wonderful to see it. It was awesome.
Thank you. So I would like to say thank you to Jason for all of your hard work and dedication. Dr. Strickland, you are appreciated. We appreciate what you've done for the district and what you will continue to do. I was really excited at the retreat this past weekend. It's important for the board to do self-evaluations. Everyone sometimes think that you're doing so well as you work as a team, but there's always room for improvement. So I appreciated everyone that was able to come out, and I really appreciated having an analysis that we did as a board. As the board, we were asked to do a survey based upon certain metrics that was given to us, and then we compared that data and talked about it. So I agree with Ms. Page when she said that it's very important for us to really reflect and have time to see how we work together as a board. And as I said then, with the elections coming up, if our group changes or stay the same, we have to be able to have a forward-thinking perspective. And I too have visited a number of classrooms, talked to teachers and parents, mostly parents, to give feedback on how they feel that this year is going. All of them have rave reviews. One person in particular said, "We're making flashcards out of index cards. We didn't do this 2 years ago." So you can really see the difference. And I thank you, Dr. Faust, because coming in as a new person from another area, sometimes it can be difficult. But I appreciate you pushing through and being consistent where you saw we need our academics to be. And instead of just talking about it or wondering about it, you came and did action. And it can be seen. already. So I really appreciate the time and effort that you put in to our district. Being new to the district, I really appreciate that. Sometimes I think that we forget that leaders are human too, and feel like, okay, we'll send this and send that and he'll take care of it. But we have to remember that human component that of appreciation. So I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing. Also to the new people on the cabinet, it was good to hear you talk a little more during that retreat on Saturday. It was really good to see you already capturing the vision that we have for our district, and maybe some of the feedback that we had talked about of what we wanted and what we wanted to see. You could already tell that you guys had did some research on what we need and what we desire in our district, so I appreciate that as well. Lastly, when I first came on last year, I had a passion about that spelling bee. I kept talking about the spelling bee. I wondered, where is that spelling bee? I'm saying, what is going on? So I'm excited to say February 1st, this Saturday, the spelling bee will be over at Turner, and we have 10 students representing 10 of our elementary schools that will be there. So I encourage you. Oh, 2 middle schools too, yay. So 12 students. So I'm excited. I get excited about the spelling bee because as our students understand, it's okay to be competitive. It's okay to learn beyond what you may be taught in the classroom and use your skills. So I'm just really excited. And Dr. Strickland, I know that you help with that, and a lot of others really help to make sure it happens. So thank you so much. And Saturday's the date. So if you can support our students at that spelling bee, thank you.
Thank you.
If I may just correct, the spelling bee is Friday.
Oh, Friday, I'm sorry. Is that February 1st is on a Friday? Okay, thank you.
She has an electronic calendar.
Yes.
Okay. Before we move to our next part, always have to welcome our person on the State Board of Education, Janet Waugh. Please stand. And now, board updates. Dr. Randy Watson, Commissioner of Education. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. What an honor and pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you, board. Good to see you. So, Dr. Yeager, thank you so much for not posing any spelling questions to me. I appreciate that. You know, I would not want to be embarrassed by any of the kids that will be there on Friday. That will be a great event. And as I came in and came through the building and came up, people said, "What are you doing here tonight?" I said, well, isn't it obvious? Dr. Faust and I are going to determine whether school is going to go on here in a couple hours. I kind of miss that, as superintendent. No, I don't miss that. I don't miss that at all. It's awfully cold. So I'm here to share some good news with you, and also to present to you some challenges that you already know, and that how we're going to go forward together and really help students in Kansas be successful. So, like you, I work for a 10-member State Board of Ed, elected by the people, and Janet is your representative, and she's proud of KCK, and a golden bear, but still proud of KCK. I need to point out both of that. And as you mentioned, Dr. Nguyen, we had the great honor the last couple of days of having our Kansas Teacher of the Year team. We treat those people as a team, and Janet was doing the research on this, it was 1963, the last time a Kansas Teacher of the Year came from Kansas City, Kansas. So you should just be shouting from the rooftops for Whitney Morgan. We could not be more proud of her. We could not be more proud of her and the K-TOY team, and I know that they were so excited to be in the Capitol today, Dr. Nguyen, so thank you for honoring them. The struggle is real, and I want to also say, as we talk about leading the world, that I want to thank Dr. Strickland, like all of you. But unlike all of you, I intend to cross the river and drag him back very quickly. I told him that, because Kansas needs all of our talent as we try to really do this hard work. How do we help kids and parents become more successful? That's our goal. And there's a lot of hard data and intangibles to that, and how do we go about doing that? So I want to talk to you tonight about something that rarely gets reported, But, you know, Board Member Jones, I think, was talking about being at Kansas City Sumner and watching a game. You know, Sumner is not, or Wyandotte High School, is not going to go turn around and play a small 1A school in Kansas. We have classifications just like over in Missouri. We have 6 classifications, and they have 6 different state championships because we know size of school matters when you're going to go compete on a football team or a debate squad or whatever. So we've done that. But we never ask that question when we're talking about student success of kids. And I just want you to know that pretty much side by side in this state are 2 very diverse school districts. Could not look any more different from each other. But I want to talk to you about yours tonight. We did something that is unique across the United States. We said, we want to know what are the factors that limit students from being successful. And we defined it this way: graduating from high school and going on to earn what we call another piece of paper. An associate degree, a certificate for be a welder, or a PhD, master's, or a baccalaureate. What are the factors that really limit that? And our research we've been working on this for 2 years. We looked at every possible factor, all right? And all of them, there's lots that have some impact, but I'm going to give you the 3 biggest, by far the 3 biggest. And number 1, cumulative poverty. Here's what we mean. How many years is that student, so just pick any student, 6th grader, how many years has that young man been on free lunch? And if he's 4th generation, that's really hard to break. Right. All right? That's by far the biggest predictor of whether or not, how hard we have to work to get that student to graduation with a skill set that he or she can go on and be successful in post-secondary. Second, how much chronic absenteeism does that student have? Meaning, how often does that student miss more than 10% of the days of school, excused or unexcused, outside of a spelling bee activity or some other school activity? Now, that's not very much, if you think about it. Let's just say in a good month, without any holidays, you might go to school 20 days a month. If you miss more than 2 of those days consistently every month, you are at high risk of not graduating high school, or if you do graduate, barely graduating to go on. And the third is, how often does that student and that family move in their career? Even the most stable of our families probably are going to change schools 3 times, from an elementary to a middle to a high school. But as you know, we will have students here in KCK and across the state that will move up to 15 to 20 times this school year. And every time they change, that's a risk. I'm here tonight to tell you we're standing in the school district that has the highest of those 3 risks in the state of Kansas. And not too far from here is a school district that has the lowest of those 3 in the state of Kansas. And yet, oftentimes, in news media or outlets, we want to compare those straight up to each other. Sometimes that's okay, you know, because all of our kids are going to compete in the world. But tonight I want to share with you something that we're doing that's pretty unique. This is your data. It's a look back to the years 2012 to 2016. It's a 5-year average of graduation rates. And those students then go on to some other schooling. Here's what we've done, never before done. We have identified at every school district, based upon those risk factors, how many students, based upon that risk, if you don't intervene, should graduate high school and go on to earn that 2nd piece of paper. We would predict that the Kansas City School District would be somewhere between 17% and 23%, 17, 18% to 24%. We want you to be at 75. That's driving the middle class. We want graduation rate to be at 95. So where are you at? Well, you're at 27%. You're at 67% high school graduation, and 40% of those graduates go on somewhere. So that when you multiply those together, that's 27%. Now, remember how excited we were about Whitney? This is in the top quarter of all school districts in the state in beating your risk factors. It's okay. You can get excited about that. Because 27 is a long way from 75 where we want to be and where our kids deserve to be. But you know the struggle is real, and the work that you've done over the years is paying off. Now you got to double down, triple down, because they all deserve it. But you're scoring above your risk factors at a 0.7 standard deviation, almost a 1 standard deviation above that. That's pretty exclusive territory. And Janet and I just wanted to share that with you tonight because it's unique. In fact, in future years, I'm going to give out a little award called the Commissioner's Award, Dr. Nguyen, and I'd like to come back. We haven't announced that yet, but you know, if we were going to, I'd be here tonight to pass that out because of those districts that outperform those risk factors. So we want to see the graph going up, you know, growth. We want to see you going toward 95 and 75, and we want to continue that. So, and all of you are working on that. I want to, you know, as you know, we're looking at 16 data because we took a snapshot of the KCK kids on July 1 of 2018 and asked that question. But we already know this. High school graduation is at 67. That's up in 2017. It's up again in 2018. You're making progress. You want to accelerate it, but you're making progress. Yes, ma'am.
When you say up, can you give us some percentages?
Yes, I'm going to be maybe a little off, okay? So please, I'm going to look over here to, so I'm going to say in 17 it was about 71, and in 18 it was about 73. And the 5-year average before that is in 67. That's when you just drop the mic. That's some hard work, all right? Now, what we don't know is that red, that pink, because we'll take those snapshots in the subsequent years. We don't, now, Dr. Strickland may already have that data, but we'll be monitoring that 2 years out of high school. Now, there are a lot of reasons that go into that. You got to get kids to school. You got to get them well fed. They have to have safe transportation. They have to feel wanted. They have to learn a little math, right? They have to learn to speak well. There's a lot of factors that go into that success. But I just wanted to come to you today to say your efforts in the past sometimes don't get noticed, because if you put 27% against someone that's at 50, you think, I don't know if this is worth it, right? It is worth it. Your efforts are worth it. They have been. They've always been. And you have a long history of doing some really good work in the toughest place in our state based upon the risk factors. Now, the challenge. You have to do better. And you know that. Your kids deserve better. You have chosen an outstanding leader. He's our, you know, I've been so impressed. He knows that. Dr. Faust knows that. And now, you know, we want stability. You know, we want him to be here a long time like everyone else. We want a good stability. That's why we're going, you know, we want good stability of our cabinet. We want good stability, you know, with you guys. We've got a lot of work to do, right? So right on the trajectory, and now you're digging in saying, hey, but we're noticing some things we could even get better at, and our kids and families deserve it. Janet and I just wanted to say thank you. Dr. Faust, welcome officially. My first chance here at a board meeting. And just say thank you to all of you for doing the hard work and making a difference every day in the life of kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Watson, and I'll see you soon.
Yes.
Mr. Covington, Bond Update, Chief Financial Officer. I'm sorry, were there any questions for Dr. Watson?
Can we get a copy of your printout, please?
Yes, yes, ma'am. And I'm also going to leave you a copy of our accreditation manual. Dr. Nguyen asked for that, and I'll leave that too. Thank you.
We missed Joseph Strauss.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent. We're going to bring Mr. Clemens up and the J.E. Dunn rep to give you the bond update.
Madam President, Dr. Faust, Board, Doug Clemens, Director of Physical Properties.
Good evening.
It's been a while since we've had a chance to visit, so I'm glad to be here tonight. The bond update tonight really is going to consist of Lee is going to present the bid tabulations for the next 3 projects that are going out. It's the Schlegel, Harmon and the new Lowell Bruni Elementary School. And of course, will be available for questions. So I'll turn it over to Lee, and he can start going through those numbers with you.
Madam President, Board, Dr. Faust. Good evening. Thank you. So it has been since October board meeting that we were able to present some bid results, so we're happy to be back. And we've got 3 projects to look at. Those projects have bid November and December. So I'm going to navigate here and jump right into the first bid tab, which is going to be Work Package 6A. And that is for FL Schlegel. We call that Work Package 6A. So this project is secure entries and science classrooms. That work is to be performed this summer of 2019. About a $1.4 million project overall. Again, took bids on November 8th. So this form looks pretty familiar, but I'll set it up again. So working left to right, we've got our bid packages. Each bid package has its own designated section with the bidders listed as the bids that we received. We have the middle column there is the base bid amount. If it says combo, we have combos there listed at the end of the bid tab. And then we've got MBE, WBE, and LBE information there specifically by sub. Haven't really, won't go through this line item by line item. There are 3 sheets associated with this bid tab. This was kind of the first project we bid for the upcoming summer projects. Felt like we got some pretty good bid coverage. You see combo a lot on there. There were some combos with some 2 and 3 scopes that were evaluated. There was one combo that was low. Otherwise, single bids were low on this particular package. One highlight, the yellow highlighted is the low responsible bidder that was awarded the project. One other thing to note, the blue line, for instance, 2B selective demolition, the number there, that 65,600 in the base bid amount, that was our target budget for that particular scope of work. So it gives you kind of a gauge on how we matched up with our budgets. So we got 2 other projects to go through, but do you have any questions on this particular project?
Yes, I see there were a number of places that bid under the recommended value, and I know that sometimes that occurs, but we were talking a little bit about quality of work. If it is too low, how are we preventing the too low of a bid that may not do a quality of work? How are we making sure that they're giving the best foot effort based upon what we've approximated?
Good question. So we evaluate not only the low bid, but we evaluate all the bids, not just from a quality standpoint, but we check to make sure that the contractor has a full scope of work. They've picked up everything that we've asked them to do. They can meet schedule. Obviously, the quality is a huge component of that. A lot of the quality goes back to our experience with that trade partner, and we go back and we have a system that lists all the projects they've worked on. We check, make sure, see if there's any red flags from a quality standpoint. From that perspective. So obviously there may be certain requirements that they have to meet, like a certification or something, so we would check that as well.
And so in those instances, is that indicated on here, or you just throw it out, or what is the protocol around that?
You mean if a bidder is not qualified?
Right, so maybe you choose someone, then you see it may have been some red flags or mistakes in the past, you just throw them out and not list them here, or do you list them here and just not give it, or what is?
The only bids on this sheet are the low response, or the qualified bidders.
Okay.
So that would be a non-qualified bid, whether they didn't include the right scope or they're not qualified to do the work. Correct, they would not be on here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Other questions, please? Please proceed.
Okay. So the next, let's see here. So the next bid tab will be our what we call Work Package 6B bid tab. That is for J.C. Harmon project. Harmon renovations there. There's 3 pages in that bid tab. This project consists, again, of secure entries, science classrooms. We have some second floor hallway ceiling replacements, and then This includes the new front skin for the Harmon, so the whole front entry will look different here probably in December of this year. So this project it starts in the summer. It's a phased project, but it goes through the fall, and we will turn over the final product at the end of the year. There will be a phased move-in with that schedule. So that project is approximately $3 million total. We took bids December 19th. Obviously, had an opportunity to vet those out. Again, the yellow bidders are the low responsible bidder. And pretty much the same format that we explained on the last one as far as how the scopes are broken out. And by the way, both of these projects and the other one have been right or under budget as far as kind of where we're at from our estimate standpoint. So.
And what is highlighted in blue?
So the blue, if you're looking at the first page here, the blue is just the scope name.
Okay.
And then that value in the blue is just our target estimate for that particular scope.
Okay. So help me understand 07E, metal roofing and wall panels. Help me understand those figures, those three figures there, starting with 108,500.
So that one obviously missed the mark a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
A little lot.
So the sheet metal pricing was a little, there's a custom color that we are working to change in the project because we weren't anticipating those kind of costs in the estimate. So we are working on that particular scope to reduce that scope for some savings to get that closer. It won't get it to the 108, but we just underestimated the sheet metal part of that project. So,
but it was awarded at 307,675?
Yes, it was. And we believe it to be a competitive and fair number based on the other bid that we received and obviously the vetting out process that we went through. So estimating is never a perfect science, but we like to be closer on that, but that one in particular is not. So.
Right. Same thing on the 01, I guess, I or 11, the final cleaning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, missed that to the good of the approach. So.
Light fireproofing, missed it again?
Yeah, sometimes some of these projects with the certain scopes, sometimes it's hard to get it perfect. And so, again, we do our best on the estimate, and at the end of the day, you're going to have some ups and downs in each of the scopes, but the important thing is the bottom line, that we stay within our allotted budget for the project.
Questions? J.C. Harmon project? Please proceed, please.
Okay. So the third one will be Work Package 12 bid tab. This package is the new Lowell Bruni Elementary School on the Greenfield site. So a wide range of scopes of work on this. This actually is 6 pages long, so we've got several more scopes with it being a new build, a significant amount of site work obviously on that project. So a little bit different format only because we have some alternates that were bid out and considered. So working again from left to right, we've got our sub listing and our scope listing there. We've got our MW and L designation. We've got our base bid. Then there were 5 alternates. I won't dig into all the alternates. Only alternates 3 and 4 were accepted, which 3 was a deduct as far as deleting rooftop screens, and that was a city issue. We bid that as an alternate in case we would have to do it, but we've since determined that that is not required, so that resulted in a savings to the project. So again, the yellow highlight is the awarded low responsible bidder.
Questions?
No.
Please proceed.
Okay, so then we'll jump into, let's see here. Not sure what, I'll just click on this one and see. Okay, so this is outreach efforts respondents file, and this is basically a report that we've provided at previous meetings. All the bid packages are here listed. There's several blanks because there's bid packages we haven't bid out yet. The highlighted ones are the ones that we're presenting on today. This gives you, working from left to right, you've got the work package number and explanation. The next two columns are outreach summary, so that's how many pre-bid meetings or how many outreach efforts that we were able to talk about this project and stir up interest as far as our inclusion efforts. And then the rest of it is outreach respondents. So this is where on the bid form, we ask the bidder how they heard about the project. And so we've accounted for the different types of avenues that bidders are hearing about the projects.
So it seems that there are 0 respondents accessing via the district website. Has there been any conversation about that?
There has not. The majority of it is chamber and plan rooms and our invitation system. So we would like that to be more. We're putting a lot of effort in keeping that maintained and putting information on there. But that's the feedback we're getting from the bidders.
So this is just the month of January? I'm sorry,
This is for the entire bond issue, so every project that we bid that we were
Entire.
accounting this information is listed on there. I've highlighted in yellow the 3 new projects, all the information you had previously seen in previous meetings.
So this, the 0 for district websites prove that throughout the entire to-date, no, well, how do you interpret it? I don't want to make a mistake.
Bidders and potential bidders are hearing about the projects through all the other avenues.
Not the district website.
Remember, Dr. Nguyen, I had raised the concern that it's very cumbersome from our website to find out how to go and get information. So that's when I believe Ms. Page maybe have asked, where can we go to just forward people directly to circumvent that issue? I'm not sure if that will be resolved with the new website coming on.
Something
but
to consider.
Again, if they're not able to
navigate the district website and or know to go there and or find success when they're there, there's something that we need to note and do something about.
I do have a question. I attended the fall meeting that you guys had. Very good event. It was a room full of minority vendors, so I applaud you guys for everything that you did. Did any efforts come from there, or did anyone, if you can remember off the top of your head, were there any one who attended that able to bid on our projects?
Not that I recall. There were definitely a lot of conversations that day, but right offhand, I don't recall if it did result in that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments from the board? Any other comments, sir? You have a couple more you need to
Yeah, I have a couple
address?
more if you want.
Please proceed.
Okay. Okay. This is our running total of the bond results. It's pretty small there, so I don't know if I can zoom in or not. That looks a little bit better. So basically, this is our summary of all of the basically who we've invited to bid, how many bidders responded to the bid, how many bidders were awarded, the dollar amount, and the percentages. So this is what we call our bidder recruitment and results. Teeing up this spreadsheet, and I know that hopefully this looks familiar to the most of you guys, starting from left to right. So we've got the rows basically just numbered. Then we've got sections broken out. We have an MBE bidder summary, that's section A. We have a WBE bidder summary at B. and then LBE summary is C. We also have total MWL bidders and total non-MWL bidders. Then we go over to bond totals. So that bond totals, the kind of gray shaded column, that is a summary of all packages we bid out to date, which is and includes 14 bid packages and about 80% of your bond projects. And then the next three columns, work package 6A, work package 6B, and work package 12, are the individual bid results for each of those projects. So we've got a bid date, and we've got our plan rooms invited, and then you go down to, and I'll just use the MBE bidder summary as kind of an example for all of them. So our line item number 1, outreach, that's the number of MBE bidders that were invited per bid package. Line item 2 is the number of MBE bidders that responded to the bid. Line item number 3 is how many MBE bidders that responded to the bid were actually awarded as the low responsible bidder. Then we have our actual dollars that we're tabulating throughout the bond project there, which is around $9.5 million. And then our percentage of the MBE dollars awarded as a percentage to the trade partner costs, and that's around 8.2%. Same format would go for the WBE section, which is section B, line items 6 through 10, and then the section C, line items 11 through 15. Section D and E basically summarize all of the bid packages and provide information on the total MWL bidders and then the non.
Did you say we're at 80% now?
This includes 80% of the projects we bid today. We have another 15 out to bid currently. By the end of February, hopefully at the February board meeting or at the March board meeting, we'll have been reported on 95% of the projects bid out today.
Okay. And that, what is the percentage complete? Is that the same number?
We're about 35% complete with the projects at this point.
Total projects completed
projects.
Equals, and what number did you?
35% of a dollar, 35% of the dollar value has been work put in place to date.
Right. And what is the percentage of projects completed? The total package?
About 17%.
17%.
Of work packages actually completed and turned over to you, yes, 17%.
Okay. Questions? Comments? Proceed, please.
Okay. Last document is just a tabulation and information of reasons for bidders not bidding. Again, this had been requested early on in our bond reporting, so this is a document we've been updating. I have just included the 3 work packages that I'm presenting on tonight. This is a snapshot of the information on when we went out to bid, when we had pre-bid meetings and job walks, and how many days those bid packages were out on the streets. And then we took a sampling through recruiting and through the end of the bid process on if someone wasn't going to bid, why they were not bidding. And the biggest thing we're hearing right now, and you guys have heard me say this back in October, is that work is filling up, and particularly the summer projects, which is the ones we're bidding out right now. Thankful that we're still getting some bid coverage, but we are talking to several contractors that basically are just filled up for the year. And we're going to continue to see that as work is plentiful in the construction market. So even with the amount of bidders unable to bid, still feel like we're getting good bid coverage. We're staying on task from a budget standpoint. So I think overall it's still good news.
So with that being said, is there any other packages that we can release earlier than what we're doing so that we can beat the rush per se?
We have another handful of projects for the summer of 2020 that will be coming out this fall. So we will have an opportunity to get a little bit ahead, and we have plenty of time right now to do that. So you don't want to bid too early. So there's that kind of that line, but we should be bidding this fall for the rest of those projects, and I think we'll be in good shape.
So is it 6 months, or what is the?
Yeah, I think 6 months. I don't know if you want to go much earlier than 6 months. Just bidders are going to maybe have to take a little bit more risk on material prices if they can't get them locked in, so that could throw off your numbers a little bit. So there's that balance.
But don't we have something in the contract that allows for that buffering? Buffering of prices? Because we had talked about in the contract sometimes if something changes or may go up, there's a buffering portion of the contract?
I'm not familiar with that particular item. I know, I mean, basically when we get bids from contractors, and then we provide a bid, I mean, we get hard bids from the subcontractors, so their prices are locked in. And then we have a GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price to you, that we use those projects. So I can't say that there's not an instance that maybe something like that comes up, but it's not very common.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The comments, please. Dr. Faust, we may want to, and sir, dedicate a Saturday to just looking at the scope, the manner in which our success or lack thereof, meaning not so much not progress and not quality of work, but that's because that's expected. But that some of these questions we may not have had time on a Tuesday evening to talk about. So please, board, keep that in your mind, and we appreciate your work, and we look forward to having more in-depth conversations on this.
Absolutely. And we did host a board meeting at our logistics center last May and kind of went in detail on this information.
Right.
If that's something you'd like us to schedule again, I'd be happy to do that. If it, sooner than May, just
we'll work
let us
with
know.
you, and we'll work and nail down so you'll know exactly what we are interested in discussing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
thank you very
guys.
much.
I think I will if I just very, very briefly talk about the projects that we are currently, just so we don't forget that we have a lot of work going on now. We're planning more work, obviously, in the summer. What other projects are you expecting bids on the work package 7? Those have not been presented here, have they? Yeah,
No,
so.
we bid today, actually, at 2 o'clock. We bid today at 2 o'clock, work package 7B, which is 3 of the 6 elementary schools we're doing secure entries at. One of those schools has a kitchen. We're rebidding a couple scopes for work package 7B, or 7C, which is the other 3 schools. And then next week, we're taking bids on West Park Elementary School, which is the new ground up there at the West Middle School site. So we're taking bids on that next week as well. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Is there dancing here?
Yeah. So then I was just going to mention the other projects that we have going on right now. Of course, we've got several major construction projects underway, and you all know what those are. We come and talk about them every month. But Wellborn is going very well. I walked that project. What is today? I walked that project Thursday or Friday. I'm sorry, forgotten. Going very well. It's a little interesting. We don't have pretty pictures for you tonight, but that building, for the most part, is their paint, putting in casework, planning on having that project really done by the end of the school year, which will give us an opportunity to move from old Wellborn into new Wellborn, so we can get the old Wellborn torn down and get all that site work done that we have to get done. So it's going very well. Very pleased, actually, when I did my walkthrough. I was there actually looking at a very specific, very minor issue about where we're locating some of our security contacts and that kind of stuff at the doors. Coronado also walked that building, going very well. That one is in various stages. As you walk through the building, you can walk through one part of the building and you're in metal studs and wires and everything going on, and you walk into the far other end of the building, you're in sheetrock, paint, casework going in, so it's progressing as we move through that building. If there's anything you want to add about any of those, but again, fairly pleased with the progress. All of these projects are on target, hoping that the weather, I shouldn't even say it, doesn't get to us. I do know that Rosedale has been impacted some by the weather. We're actually, I say we, they are over their weather allowed days, but Lee knows the date is the date is the date. We start school. In fact, it's on your agenda tonight to approve the calendar for the next school year, so that is the date. Unless I can talk you into something later. But I mentioned Rosedale. That one's going very well. I will mention, again, so it's not all just, pie in the sky. We do have one little issue that I'll be going out tomorrow. It's, again, a minor issue where they were planning. We have to do a footing for the new addition. Well, because of the way changes and things happen over the years, there's a little portion of a tunnel. What we refer to tunnels, it's where the old steam pipes used to go around the perimeter of the building. So it's not conducive to putting a footing there, so and still provide access to other parts of that we need to get to. So I'll be going out to look at that tomorrow. I'm trying to go fairly quickly. Fisk is going very well, you know, over the really the last part of December and into the holiday break. They were working on making some changes. I don't know if you've been out there to the perimeter of that. We put in some head-in parking there along the north side of the building. That all got done. That's all striped. They're using that parking to help with that, alleviate that congestion, because as you know, Fisk is awful to try to drive around, particularly certain times of day. I think they got the pad ready. I think they poured the pad, if I'm not mistaken. I know they were working on some of the concrete. That was an issue that I talked with one of the project managers about keeping that concrete so it would cure. So going very well. Carl B. Bruce, we have just really kind of recently got started. I will tell you that there is an issue that we've come across with some of the subgrade soil conditions that Jay Dunn, the architects and engineers, are working on that, so we make sure they found some piers that were not expected. Apparently they had issues 40, 50 years ago whenever they built that building, so they put some things down, so now we have to address that. So those are the kind of the unexpected things you get into, and so we'll be working through that. But really overall, all projects are, like I say, they're on target because the date is the date, and going fairly well. Yes, ma'am.
Grant Elementary, parking for the teachers.
Parking for the teachers, I'm going to have to talk to the church across the street and see if we can do that a little bit more. We're kind of hemmed in by our weather right now.
Okay.
We can't do that, and really Lee might be able to talk to this better than I can. Really, we had an issue with, wasn't compaction so much, it's just moisture in the subgrade.
Okay.
So they could not come back and put the asphalt and the concrete in the areas. So we're just kind of waiting for the weather to break for us a little bit, you know.
'Cause I know they are parking at Pleasant Green Baptist Church.
Exactly,
right
yeah. And that.
So did you do any soil borings at the Bruce site?
We did, but this would have been under, you know, where we had to take down the old storeroom. It was when they built the storeroom is when they put these big piers in, and so now we're going to encroach on that area, and so we found these piers that were not expected there. I say they found the piers that were not expected, so now we have to figure out how to get a proper subgrade for the new building that'll be on that part. Other questions?
Just for the record, Lee, what is your name and title?
My name is Lee Moore. I'm a vice president. I'm basically responsible for your entire bond issue and Doug's day-to-day contact.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. We will be in touch. Mr. Covington, I had asked for is it in our libraries?
Yes.
Okay.
But I do have the hard copy that you requested.
Okay, but it's in the library? It is. A constituent, and this is because, well, you know what, the font looks like 12, which is normal. The last font, some other documents this weekend were impossible to read.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd asked Mr. Covington, a constituent asked if there was a cumulative accounting of all the payouts, expenditures for the bond to date. And they were told by somebody that this was not public record. And so it is, I requested a paper copy, but that in our library, it is filed.
I just put it out today.
Okay, thank you. And so it is public record, and
Yes,
these
all
are public
expenditure
dollars,
of
and so.
Public dollars is public record.
Correct. So thank you very much. So to date, we have spent what? It's on one of those forms.
It's at the bottom of the last page. 87. Like 87 million?
216. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments before we leave the bond update? Thank you, sir.
Right, thank you.
Community comment. Mrs. Westfall, do we have our person?
Mr. Strauss is here.
Dr. Nguyen, weren't we supposed to read something at the beginning of the?
And yes, I apologize. At the very beginning of, Mr. Strauss, please proceed. But at the beginning of the board agenda says board norms and protocols. We agree to respect differences of opinions in making decisions for the district. We agree to follow best practices in managing the superintendent and the management of the board itself. We agree to stay on task when conducting business for the district, including while at board meetings. We agree to never surprise the superintendent or each other when conducting official business of the district. And we agree to read these norms at the beginning of each board meeting and at board workshops as a reminder of how to conduct our meetings. And we agree to continually self-check to determine if we are following our norms when conducting district business. And it's always been posted, but we have never done it. And so we are going to make an effort to do that at each meeting. So thank you. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your comment. Another item, explanation that is a little longer, that is also on our agenda, but it's much too long to read to the public, but it does, in essence, say the superintendent may refer complaints to the board only if a satisfactory adjustment cannot be made by principal, the superintendent, or other appropriate staff members in accordance with complaint and or grievance procedures established by board policy or applicable negotiated agreement, and all the rest. The speaker must adhere to a 3-minute time limit, and I know that you are aware of the rules for speaking, and we appreciate you coming. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Give me 1 second before you start my clock. I just want to say hello to everyone.
Hello. Happy New
Haven't seen
Year.
some of you guys in a while. Be seeing a lot of you guys probably later on this year. But I do want to start, as we start the time, I'll try to keep this right to task. I have 3 pages here. George Washington Carver once said, when you can do the common things in life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to discuss the person or the persons that are not only commanding the attention of the world, but are changing the world through their leadership in the principal position. The principal positions in our educational facilities are the most essential positions to the success of our district. These individuals have to work hard to balance the policy set by this governing body, as well as having the support of the teachers that they command and the respect of the students and their subsequent families. How can one attain such goals with so many moving parts, so many responsibilities, and so many expectations? And the answer is not simple. This person must hold high standards to all involved in the process. Each student must be pushed, each teacher must be held accountable, every support person in the team, from the office to the custodial office, must be held to a standard. This person must be visible and approachable. They must be able to communicate effectively to students, parents, community, teachers, and high-level officials of the district. And lastly, they just simply must care. I'm saddened today to know that the absence of principals that have these skills are growing shorter in our district. Just the other day, I went to visit a school, and I was shocked to find out that a man that possesses all of these traits was not there. I'm also saddened by the fact that we speak of diversity and growing our own, but I see a contrast and overlook of certain demographics when it comes to head principals in our schools. I'm personally tired of watching some of the best and brightest teachers and administrators leave our district because they are not given an opportunity to lead and advance their careers. One group in particular seems very strange to me, and that is of the African American man. We have lost over 9 of these individuals to districts that surround us, and they are welcomed with open arms by KCMO, North Kansas City, Lawrence, Leavenworth, Topeka, Shawnee Mission, and others. These districts have also paved the way for not only these gentlemen, but some of our best and brightest teachers as well. I urge this board to research the due process policies, not for only just teachers, but for administrators as well. We're losing far too many great leaders, and I would hate to lose another one of these. Some of these individuals have been with me as a parent for over 18 years and as a student much longer than that. To lead is a difficult task. There are many who will not like you, as probably some of you guys know, especially the ones that are held accountable for poor performance or poor choices. There's value in what I call old school learning styles: tough, no nonsense, and to the point. I have 2 kids. I stand here today with 2 kids in college and 1 on the way there because there was such a principal that uttered these words every time I saw him. Strauss, you send the best part of you every day, and it's my job to make sure they get the best of us. There are few places that I can send my children and know that the person in charge cared just as much for them as I did, and they were getting the best that District 500 had to offer. And that school is just 6 blocks to the west of here. And that's my community comment for today. Thank you.
Thank you. And
oh, I'm sorry.
name.
Thank you.
Did you tell us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We know, but still.
Y'all know my name. My name is Joseph Strauss, Kansas City, Kansas, born and raised, class of 95, Sumner Academy.
And if you would like to, you may leave copies of your comment.
Absolutely. And I made a couple scribbles on here, but I can send you guys copies. I can leave it here for you.
The rules say if you care to submit written materials, make 12 copies for proper distribution.
I will submit them to Ms. Westphal, and you'll have them by your next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, item number 5, report to the superintendent. A.
So we'd ask that the Kansas City Board of Education approve A 133 guaranteed maximum price GPM amendment with McCown Gordon Construction for new central kitchen as submitted by Dennis Covington, Chief Financial Officer, and as recommended by myself, School Superintendent.
Back in June, you all approved the vendor. This is the amendment to add the GMP to that contract. It's not a change of the dollars, it's just to add the GMP into the contract. And I have Doug here if we got any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Covington. Board, actually I have with me tonight representatives from McCown Gordon, Luke Dietz, and Brian Roth. Also sitting somewhere, he must be back in the, oh, there he is. I didn't see him. Mark Spurgeon of WSKF Architects, here, local architectural firm, to answer any kind of questions. We went real high tech and brought you a photograph of the building down here. This is for the new central kitchen located up here at 5604 State Avenue. Will be available for questions. I'll turn it over to Luke so he can go through the bid tabulations and the GMP and how we got to those numbers. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Faust, Dr. Wynn, and board members. We're honored and humbled to be back in front of you. We had an opportunity to speak in December, I think, to speak about our diversity efforts that we were taking into the bidding process. And so, as Doug mentioned, Brian Roth, a colleague, is with me. Pat Contreras, who you met last time, sends his regrets. He wanted to be here as well. And Mark Spurgeon with WSKF is here as well in case there's any questions regarding the project itself. Obviously, you have a process that you've gone through with Jay Dunn related to this, and so we've tried to send similar information. And why it didn't get submitted with the original information, I apologize, but we've got it on the screen, and Brian has copies if you'd like printed copies as well that we can hand out, if that would be okay or desirable.
Yes, give them Ms. Westphal, please.
Okay, well, Brian will do that. So while he's doing that, I'll try to walk through the project or the information you see in front of you, and I apologize, I'm not gifted at how to make this work. All right, there we go. Okay, so what you see in front of you is a summary of the trade partner work packages. It's in a little bit different format than what Lee just presented, and I may apologize. My name is Luke Dietz. I am a market leader for McCown Gordon and lead our K-12 efforts in the metro area. So I did want to make sure I introduced myself. But this is a summary of the various work packages that make up the Central Kitchen project. As a quick reminder, it is a brand new building on State Avenue. The district has already purchased the property. WSKF and our team are working through the permitting process with Unified Government. Once that's received, we'll be able to start work, obviously pending approval of the GMP amendment, with works scheduled to start in late February with completion in October. This is, again, a summary of our bids with scopes, the successful low qualified contractor, as well as summaries. I apologize for the small print. But it does summarize total project value, MBE, WBE, and LBE participation for each of those scopes.
Does everyone have the particular document that he's referencing? Okay.
I got it. It's up on the screen, so I apologize again. If there's no questions on the summary, I can continue to work through the bid tabulations.
Well, let me ask you this. Help me understand, and for it's positive. You chose to have two categories of LBE. So are the two entries for are these Wyandotte County companies?
So the way in our years in the past, in our experiences before with the district, we had always classified LBE back then as Wyandotte County. Mm-hmm. And so it's our understanding that today that may be different, where it's a 75-mile radius. And so we simply wanted to show the Wyandotte County companies that were involved, but also those companies that fit within a 75-mile radius, to try to provide as much data for you and your team as we could.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Questions on the, how did you identify this sheet? Summary? How did you identify this sheet?
We call that our trade partner summary.
Trade partner summary. Any questions on the trade partner summary sheet?
So the next sheets, and I have an example of one on the board. We can go through them in detail as you like. They're a much larger font, so hopefully that's easier to read. Represent the detail behind each of those scopes. So they represent the number of bidders per scope, the bid amounts, and whether they were in whole or part had diversity participation within them. From a statistical standpoint, we received 132 bids. 52 of those included some level of minority, women, or local-owned participation. That is the result after we submitted. We've reached out to, I think there was 1,000 emails that went out, numerous phone calls. If you might remember, we have engaged Parson and Associates. We had a networking event here at the district office ahead of the December board meeting to really talk about and try to encourage as much diversity participation in the project as we could. And so that's sort of what the result of that includes. Through this GMP amendment, there are 31 trade partners that have submitted what are low qualified proposals. 14 of those include minority, women, or local, and when I mean local, defined as Wyandotte County, participation within them. So we can go through the detail if you'd like. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a comparison between your list and J.E. Dunn? Maybe this is for you guys, to ensure that if there are not good contractors or work done on the J.E. Dunn project, that they are not chosen, or is there a list that you're keeping tab of to ensure that the work that we verify with J.E. Dunn is also verified with this company to ensure that anyone who wasn't performing
Through
at a
this, I'm
quality
sorry to
level,
interrupt you, yeah.
is not on this list?
Through this particular process, yeah, knowing who all those bidders are, we have those meetings, those update meetings, when we go through the bid tabulations with J.E. Dunn and those discussions, and then I will share that. I know there is a particular contractor, subcontractor, in my mind, that it was very clearly expressed to McCown Gordon that they would probably not qualify.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to verify that that communication was happening.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any questions on the Central Kitchen bid packages that identifies, and correct me if I'm using the incorrect or correct terms, level of diversity, degree of diversity?
Sure, it's simply meant to report who the bidders were.
Who the bidders.
And then we've added categories about diversification, the diversity classification, if you will, or certificates that they have through a certifying agency.
And the bid packages, essentially the work was reflected in the same, just different format.
Yes.
Got
Yes.
it.
So we apologize that it's different. We know that you have a lot of data that you review at every
Don't worry,
meeting,
we can handle it, okay?
Okay.
These are
All right.
taxpayers' dollars, and we're very concerned about them. So we
Absolutely.
can, don't let that be a concern of yours.
Okay.
I have a question about the earthwork on page, I'm not sure what page it is, it's halfway through.
Okay.
The lowest possible bidder was really about 100,000 lower than others.
Correct.
And this is the concern I have with the other project. How do we ensure the quality when the bid is so low? Is there, because I know we have to take the lowest possible bid, but quality is always a concern. So how do we ensure that although they're the lowest possible bidder, that this company and is doing the best quality with the best materials available rather than shortcutting us?
And it's a great question, and I know that you asked Lee a similar question, and frankly, my answer is going to be very similar. When we receive a bid on bid day, our team then goes back and evaluates all of the bids that we receive and does a thorough evaluation, not only for the scope that we tried to very clearly articulate up front and those expectations that we tried to very clearly articulate up front, but when we see large spreads like that, that's a red flag for our team as well, because we know that we have to deliver for you, for the taxpayers. And so we've gone through that. The firm that is that low, we have a very good relationship with as a company. We've had very good dialogue with them, our team has. And we feel like they had just honestly put in a little more hustle and got a better bid for us on bid day than their competitors. And then it's up to our team in the field, Brian, to really help make sure, and Mark is supportive of that, to make sure that we deliver on the quality that is set forth as expectations in the contract documents, and really that we're delivering that for you as a district.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, and I don't want to step on Luke's toes a little bit, but again, during these meetings that we have when they're first presenting the bid tabulations to us, sometimes it looks a little different than what you see here, because there will be some that will be very low. And so those, they go through the process that both Lee and Luke have talked about, they might find that they left off certain portions of the bid, or they didn't account for this. And so those, because of that, they'll be in communication with those bidders and probably strike those, and they're not qualified anymore to show up on this bid tabulation. We've had a lot of those through the bid process. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Let me say this. Isn't it to your advantage to make sure that the subcontractor does perform a job, a quality job, because if not, you're on the line for that.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Our reputation, personally and professionally, is tied to the performance of the trade partners that we're hiring. And so it's very important that our team really goes through a diligent process of making sure that we establish those quality expectations. We clearly communicate that. We walk through that through the bidding process and then all the way through the construction process as well.
Other questions, comments?
The only other thing that, I apologize here, but just our summary for MBE, WBE, and LBE participation is a little different, and it's a letter format that you might see in what Brian handed out. But it summarizes the participation that we've been able to achieve on this project at 15% MBE, 17% WBE, and 9% LBE based on Wyandotte County. When we look at the 75-mile radius, 84% of those trade partner values are within that 75-mile radius. So we wanted to share that with you. There's a lot more information within that letter about the effort that was taken to really engage as much of the MBE and WBE community as we can, as well as LBE community, to have folks engaged in the project to really help perform with it. So, and we spoke a little bit about that in December, but I'd be happy to answer any of those questions as well.
I had a question, and I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, because I remember your face from the last meeting.
Yes.
You had talked about through Diploma Plus that you might be able to get some of our young people involved in doing internships. I don't know if that's still a possibility.
Yes. So, and I'll admit, so I sit or I really lead the advisory board at Wyandotte High School for architecture, construction, computers, and engineering. I'm help lead that board with Robert Hoffman. And we have coffee on Friday in which that we have to talk about some board stuff, but that honestly, that is number one on my priority list is how can we engage. It leans towards Wyandotte because that's where my relationship with, and I'd love to have some interaction from other folks within the district, but how can I get Mr. Lee and Mr. Gibbons' class out on site to have those students walk through the site? Are there students that are either graduating or recently graduating that we might be able to hire in an internship that are interested in construction? We were able to do that with the young lady that graduated from Wyandotte High School. She realized through the process she didn't want to do construction, but that was perfect because it gave her an understanding and a real life example about what it was about. So there is a real sincere effort from our team. Brian is one of our champions of that within our organization to help make sure we really deliver on that. And that's sort of the next step as we see going through the project with you all.
Well, we'll just, if you could, that would be, you mentioned it, and I didn't hear you say anything more about it, but it's a lot of taxpayer money, and they would truly be impressed if our kids could get involved in that and be engineers and other things instead of lay people. I'm not knocking that, but whatever they can get involved in at any level, it would help.
Well, we intend to follow up on that, and we know based on our efforts in workforce development is most people, when they think of construction, they simply think of a shovel or a hammer and doing work, which is great. Those are great occupations, and there's a place, or that's what, people's vocations are in some cases. But there are so many other options, accounting and marketing and professionals that are managers and architects, engineers that we want to try to engage as well.
Thank you.
So that would address the internships. Do you all participate in the apprenticeship programs?
Through the unions?
Correct.
So we are signatory to the carpenters, and so we do participate through the carpenters program, apprenticeship program.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also involved in National Institute for Construction Excellence, which puts on iBuild. So those are which we've got a really strong partnership with Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools through that organization. And so there is a strong connection in trying to get your high school students at least access to understand what the various trades are in the apprenticeship programs and what they look like.
So perhaps we need more information on some of those programs as well at a later time. So thank you. Look forward to speaking more with you.
Absolutely.
I have one more question.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
The outreach efforts.
Yes.
As you know, they done report on the outreach efforts of how they found out about it, why they didn't bid, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do that type of research afterwards?
We do, and we, so one, maybe I can start with what we did from an outreach standpoint is, again, Parsons and Associates, we engaged as a consultant to help us with that. So they helped us with outreach, so we did our own. Jason and his team also supported us in that effort. We had the networking event here downstairs to try to engage additional folks as well, which we did not see those folks successful, but what I am really excited about is we've really started to develop some stronger relationships with some folks that attended that I think will lead to relationships down the line that involve business as well. We were able to publicize the project through social media, chambers, contractors associations, plan rooms. What we found is that I don't have in terms of data that X number chose to not participate because of this, but what we found is there is a lot of work in the marketplace today. And so some contractors just felt like they had too much work on their plate, which we appreciate their honesty. Some felt like they could not be competitive in the K-12 marketplace, which is not uncommon for us to hear. Some forgot about it. So we had 2 or 3 that said they would bid, and then they simply forgot to follow through on it. And then we have a few that said they would bid, and we have not been able to find out why. And so we're still trying to do that. I just don't have all of those data points to share with you tonight, unfortunately.
And do you have a link on our website? Does he have a website? Can they get to those PAC? Could they have gone?
You know, I don't think so, but yeah, we'll work on that. As we're working on this other process, we'll do something about that.
Okay. Well, we're sure, first again, thank you, and we will look forward to expanding our conversation with you, and especially the website issue is a challenge.
Right, yeah.
And that's, we're a little bit far down the road to now start, in my opinion, recognizing the challenges, but as long as we don't ignore them, we'll work through this. Thank you.
Forgive me. I'm Wayne Correll, Procurement Director. The link is on our website.
Oh. Good.
The link is on our website.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We need a motion, please, to approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Item B. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
I recommend that the Kansas City Board of Education approve the proposed calendar for the 2019-20 school year as submitted by Alan King, Interim Assistant Superintendent, and as recommended by myself, Charles Faust.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
We gave you the calendar last time. The calendar is a work of the joint committee between the NEA and some administrators from the district. I asked Jen Holt to join us since she was part of that committee. The calendar, basically the purpose of the calendar committee is to determine what days of the 176 school days that we have, when they occur, when the school starts, what days are off for students, when we have our parent conferences, and when we have our family advocacy days, and then when we have our end of quarter record prep and in-service days. One adjustment on the proposal that we gave you that there's an incongruency there. April 16th on the calendar is listed as the kindergarten roundup. On the left-hand side, it's listed incorrectly as the following week. So April 16th is kindergarten roundup. April 17th is the day off in April that some people refer to it as a random day off. Also, one of the big differences this year is that Thanksgiving is for a full week. That was at a request for a proposal to include that in the proposal from our superintendent. And then one other bit of information that wasn't available when we submitted this, convocation is scheduled to occur on August 6th.
August 6th?
6th. That's a Tuesday for this year. And we're open for any questions you have on this.
So kindergarten roundup is April 16th, not April 21st.
Yes.
Okay,
that
so
is
you
correct.
will,
I apologize for that mistake.
and before it's published, it will be
Right.
corrected.
Yeah, in fact, Ms. Westfall does an outstanding job of moving this to another format. So it'll be nice and clean the way it's been looking over the years with all the correct symbols and that. This was a mock-up just for the draft.
Thank you.
I might add, we tend to work on calendars a year ahead of time. So this came from our committee work last January. And then, so the updates we made when we extended Thanksgiving week, those days got put at the beginning of the year, bumping it a little bit earlier. So that's the place where we've heard conversation, is how early our school year is starting, and you guys might have heard some of the same conversation.
And I asked this question, but I want to clarify why we have, why we count days and hours instead of days.
The statute 72-311-5 lists a number of days, but then section B of that statute states that school districts can opt for an hours instead. We talked, after you and I spoke, we talked with the auditor for the state. There are no school districts in the state that use the days. Everyone uses the hours because it gives them some flexibility. Over the last couple of years when we've had to bring back time, and it's usually time that we need to bring back to make sure that our seniors graduate with enough time, we're able to add 5 minutes to a day, or I think one year we added 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes at the end, so that adds up over the time. It gives you a little more flexibility than the number of the days. So that's why we go with that option.
And to clarify, we got the alert about the options instead of closing school, maybe a 2-hour delay. Does that have an impact on the scheduling or thought behind the schedules if there is a snowstorm or something when we have to close school?
You mean on calendar?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, with any time that we close school, that's going to affect the calendar. If we do not have school tomorrow, Mr. Covington, I believe you said that we would be right at the number of minutes that seniors need. Yes. So we've had, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So we've had 2 Wednesdays, which are shorter days. So that's affected the time. And then we had the Monday back from Thanksgiving, which was a full day. So if you put all that time together, that was the amount of cushion we had for our seniors. That's gone now. So if we have any more days beyond tomorrow, we will not have we'll have to figure out a way to make up some time. So we give you the time here, and then it's up to the scrant, like this is a unique situation this year, the way we've had the days. So we'll be there.
So the reason why there's an impact, it impacts our seniors, is because of where we place our graduation. So we pull our seniors out earlier than any of the other students. So anytime we do that, they're losing seat time. So when I think our seniors finish, is it a week early? I think it's about a week early. So we need to consider in this next calendar when we're releasing our seniors and when graduation is starting. That's what's actually impacting the makeup days.
If next year's graduation, which has not been picked yet, so don't quote me on when next year's graduation starts, but if it were to mirror this year, graduations would start on May 16th.
Saturday.
Still in school.
And seniors would be done on May 13th. So.
I got a quick question for you. How did you compensate for that entire week of Thanksgiving?
We took, well, first of all, we only had 2 days because we've been giving 3 days off. So we did that. We took those.
Yeah, 2 days.
Yeah, so we took the 2 days of Monday and Tuesday, and we started the school year 2 days earlier.
Okay.
So that backs everything up.
And actually, that's good because a lot of people don't show up. I'm just saying, a lot of people don't show up. So it's better to have it off and not have kids miss than to have them not show up. So.
Other questions, comments?
I'd like to bring up one more point is once you've approved this, the calendar committee will come back and meet. We would like to do 2 years worth of calendars. So, but with the change of administration, we wanted to make sure it fit with the needs of Dr. Faust. So we'll come back with a second calendar. So it would be the 21-22 school year that we'll come back with. Or I'm sorry, 2021 school year.
And then it will still need to be approved. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I have a comment, I don't know if it's, but you have classroom prep for August 1st. In regard to the teachers, can they still get in the building a little earlier? I know there's a lot of construction and stuff, but you still want to give them time to get in and work.
That is actually our official day. We have one official day negotiated to give the teachers record prep. So anytime after that they can open. Buildings usually are open during that time. In fact, prior to that, we have beginning teachers, so 3 days prior to that, and the buildings will be open for them in there. So it works with the building principal, but they'll be able, whenever the building principal allows them to come in, they will.
Because I had some phone calls, people complaining that they couldn't get in. So we just want to make sure that they're able to get in.
If there's construction, that would be the thing that would be stopping them.
Okay.
And the recommendation about kindergarten roundup that I think I forwarded to Dr. Faust, I believe we really need to have a consistent, all-hands approach where we know district-wide what that roundup time is, and it's consistent for all parents. So I would, ask Dr. Faust or whoever makes that decision to have those times consistent and maybe even placed on here so parents will know when they can come, because there's been too many instances to where parents cannot get there because one school is this time, the other school is that time, or there was just an unknown. Then also, there was a problem last year with the assessment of the kindergartners. Remember, they needed to be done in advance. If that's still going to be a process, parents need to know that just like they know this calendar. So if they know that there is an assessment or something that we need to do, there needs to be a smoother process for parents bringing their kids, because we want to put our best foot forward to people who are joining our district for the first time. So just a little more communication, firmness on that. So thank you.
Need a motion, please.
Madam President, I suggest that we accept the 2019-2020 calendar proposal for the district.
That's a motion? A motion?
Yes, I said I make a motion.
Said a motion. A second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Next.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. KASB recommended changes to board policies.
So I'd recommend that the Kansas City Board of Education approve proposed changes to the board policies as submitted by KASB and District Legal Counsel as recommended by myself, Charles Faust, Superintendent.
Madam President, I suggest...
Before you go, do you have any input?
Good evening, Board. Good evening. Dr. Faust, Dr. Nguyen. I would just add that we've reviewed these policies. We've looked at the changes from KSB and essentially taken the KSB changes and married those up with your existing policies. We've done it that way just because not all of your existing policies are identical to KSB's model policies. So we've married up the language to incorporate KSB's changes without significantly impacting your existing policies. Most of the policies, as you'll see from the KSB policy update December 2018 document that's in your documents there, are described as optional changes. Most of them clean up language and just reduce the chance of anything that would cause confusion or that is possibly unclear. And that's what the majority of them are directed at. One or two even address some typos and things like that that were in the model policies. I'm happy to walk through any of those that you would like if you have questions about them, or any other questions you may have.
On some of them, it says that it should be posted on the district website. Have we already partnered with our website team to make sure that we're adhering to the policy updates?
Yeah. Some of our policies are posted on the.
Right, but are they updated with what we're
I
approving?
updated.
Oh, you did? Oh, thank you.
As soon as we approve them, then.
Have to be approved first.
But this is the first read, correct?
This is.
Are we approving? We're approving.
Approval.
This is for approval if you decide to do so.
Okay. Any questions?
So it's not mandatory to have 3 readings, or I don't remember us having 2 others, but.
Just one. They were on the agenda last time for first reading.
Okay. Gotcha.
Madam President, I move that we approve the changes as presented.
It's been moved.
Second.
Seconded to approve the policy updates and correct me, discussion, sir, at any time that we feel that, what is the procedure to amending them out? If something comes up that we choose to change, what's that procedure?
Something to change, you'd set it back on your agenda for a discussion and for consideration, and then you'd go back through the process of reviewing proposed changes to that, and you'd go through the process again if there's something that comes up later.
So just keep that in mind, Board. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Now, item D.
Okay. If I can have Dr. Scraggs come to the podium, and also Dr. Nevels Tucker, if you will also join him. And I think that's.
We added item D, update of enrollment procedures 2019-20 school year.
Good evening, Board. Dr.
Good
Fowler.
evening.
We understand there were some inquiries about what the global process looked like for enrollment in middle school and high school. So I want to just provide a few details, and then Dr. Nevels, she'll add in details concerning middle school, but a lot of these are global for both. And so if you'll indulge me, I'll just read through kind of what we've included. So the first question we wanted to answer was, when does the process begin? And the process has already begun. It began January 22nd, and staff members are being trained, well, they're going to be trained this week on how to support students through family advocacy time on selecting classes. And that process will proceed through February 22nd when we have class selection completed. The second question was, how does the district ensure consistency in the process across schools? And the answer there is middle school students are registered through counseling departments who visit specific classrooms within their building, and then also a team visits the elementary school to get the students who are transitioning up through their process. In high school, students are enrolled through family advocacy. I want to make sure I'm clear. The teacher who's the family advocate, they're not doing data input for student schedules. They're instead advising students based on career cruising and some other interests and pathways that they've explored the classes and the sequences to put together. We got a question about how parents can be involved in the process. And there are numerous ways. First, there's a district-wide communication that gets sent to all parents detailing the process, and this is followed by building-specific communication through Infinite Campus. Additionally, family advocacy conference times, which are coming up in February, are an opportunity for parents to review schedules and to look at course selections, request changes, and ask any questions that they might have. And then, of course, in the high school, the pathway question comes out. How does pathway selection take place at grade 9? This is a year-long process that combines regular school experiences, enrichment opportunities, information derived from their freshman 101 courses, and the career cruising that they do during family advocacy. While this information does provide a great baseline for what students really are interested in and what they're good at, ultimately it's the student and the parent who choose and determine the pathway. In the event that a student gets in a pathway and decides, you know, they're at the end of 9th grade or early 10th grade, it doesn't feel like the right pathway or they want to try something different, the counselors, parents, and administrators work together with that student to find the best fit. So just because you start in a pathway, that doesn't mean you have to stay in that pathway. However, one of the things that I would say is that all pathway experiences lead to the types of work study, job shadows, internships, college experiences that'll get a student where they want to go. Now, there's going to be the opportunity for some of our students to earn certificates while they're with us, which is a big part of our Diploma Plus initiative. So many of our students will take the skills that they learn just in the general courses that they're involved in that will get them where they need to go in terms of that process. Are parents aware of the process to enroll in an academy that's not based in his or her neighborhood school? So we had a question about if you're a student who's at Harmon and there's an academy at Wyandotte that you really like, what does that process look like if you want to be part of that academy? While this has not been a significant issue up to this point, if through the course of the 9th grade program, it becomes clear that there's a possibility the counselors will work directly with the parents to explore that option, so it's really individualized in that circumstance. What accommodations are being made for parents who have difficulty attending enrollment events or family advocacy conferences? The Infinite Campus Portal has a student enrollment panel that parents can access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Additionally, parents can contact their home school or can make an appointment to receive support on the enrollment process. Now, one of the things that is very important is to make sure we push out information to parents, because we know that in a lot of instances, if they have a very busy schedule, they can't always come to us. And so we have processes to cross-check to make sure, you know, if it's just old-fashioned paper pencil signatures that often go on course selection forms, which are different than, you know, the actual enrollment. But those are things that we can have available at family advocacy conferences, and we can send out in the mail, or we can put them in backpacks. And then finally, how are secondary schools tailoring programs for incoming students? And so in a lot of different ways, we use interdisciplinary teaming in middle schools to support students. And so the teachers get a varied perspective on a student's interests and needs. KU Gear Up provides resources and support in helping students not only find success academically, but also socially and emotionally. And in high school, the freshman academies and/or the freshman-focused coursework, depending on the high school that you're in, although we all use a freshman 101 or at Sumner, a Sabre 101 course that really helps our teachers get to know our students and their areas of interests. But we use those academies and that framework to focus on specific intervention supports in conjunction with family advocacy and that freshman 101 course. The design focus is not just on creating great next level experiences for students for college and career, but a safety net so that teachers understand the needs of kids so we can handle those social and emotional. So we're handling the academic, which comes from that academy focus, but a great part of the academy is the small learning community where we can really look at what a student may need if they're struggling academically or socially. And so those are all things that are contained in those programs. I'm sorry, Dr. Nevels, I probably overspoke.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Great job.
Are there any questions?
Oh. The questions that I have and some concerns is, you are right, they did go over the schedules during family advocacy. However, the problem comes with when you have children at multiple schools and their administration leaves early and parents are not able to meet with the teachers or arrive near the end and parents are not there, or parents are there but teachers are not there, or family advocacy people are not there, there's some broken communication there. So what can we do to help rectify some consistency throughout or increase the standards that if a parent is not able to see what that schedule is or talk to that family advocacy, how can we ensure that there is communication going back to the parent or follow-up?
Across our sites, we'll customize opportunities to meet with parents one-on-one, whether it's with the counselors or administrators. But I think the bigger concern is for our parents who, you know, they do have that schedule that makes it very difficult. So we want to make sure that we do communicate. It may be through, you know, phone calls. It may be through, you know, clearly the Infinite Campus portal. But the best way to get that accomplished is to have communication with the principal/counseling department and the parent, and bringing them on campus and walking them through. And that's something that all of our colleagues in all of our schools will certainly do and will certainly schedule.
Well, I encourage you to think outside the box, because all parents are not able to come physically on campus. And the number of complaints that I get about not receiving phone calls back, they call, not get them back, they call, can't get a hold of. So I encourage us to think outside of the box and pick up the phone, video conferencing. We should be a lot more technically advanced, you know, use the technical advantages that we have and that we're paying for.
Oh, absolutely.
That it has the availability to do this, but there's just still that reach that can improve. So it's good theory, but we can improve on that.
Well, the great thing about what you said is our high schoolers, we put these in their hands, and they, of course, all have technology coming from everywhere. And so whether it's FaceTiming or Skype or whatever the circumstances, those are also things, and Dr. Nevels knows this, those are also things that happen throughout the buildings in different circumstances. But I think to your point, what we need to do is make sure that we produce a menu so that parents understand that if I can't do it this way and I can't do it this way, there's still this way. And I know that Dr. Nevels and I are working with Lisa Garcia to make sure that that menu is out there before the enrollment process gets too far ahead.
So you'll have an opportunity to look at it even before family advocacy.
Absolutely.
Right. And then the other thing is that we've asked the schools to contact their neighboring schools so that we can have some of the same times for family advocacy, so we can accommodate more of our parents.
We received a newsletter from Washington, and they're having an 8th grade parent night, inviting the parents to the high school. Are the other high schools doing the same thing?
Yes.
Because I think not everyone's going to come, but it's great to offer that, to invite them to come see the school before they finalize enrollment.
Many of the high schools have already gone down to the middle schools and had their teachers and students meet with the 8th grade students already. Yes.
So you'll have more information going out to the parents either through email, Infinite Campus, snail mail, showing them how the different ways they can interact with the staff enrolling their student for the next year.
Yes, that menu is going to get out to all of our parents so that they understand that there are options when it comes to understanding that process.
Okay, that's really important. Like she said, our parents need to understand that it's not just locked into that one time period. That if they reach out to us, out to you, they can make other arrangements.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, and from an educator point of view, that has been in place for a long time. I believe as a district, we're doing everything we can to get our parents to be more involved and to follow the processes that we're suggesting that they do. I think What needs to be done is for us to try to put more emphasis on parent involvement. It's not the system. The system is set up, but a lot of parents don't do that. A lot of parents don't actually contact the schools to let them know that they may have to be at 2 or 3 different schools. So we have that in place.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. We have it in place where they can contact and set that.
Well, we will find out. How about that?
But the problem is trying to work to get more parents involved. The system is there.
And I just want to make one point before we move on. If the system is there, it's not communicated to the parents.
Yes, it is.
And as a parent with students in this district at different schools, from my perspective and my knowledge, it is not communicated and it's not working. The parents are trying. The parents want to be active. But if there is not that communication or openness to do stuff or being open to change, then we will continue to get what we've been getting.
How many parents are actually coming into the schools to try to help these people to be able to do what they are suggesting to be done? That's a limited number. And the schools are doing everything they can. So parent involvement is necessary.
I have one last question for you, Dr. Scraggs. When you enroll a student for the first time at Sumner, do you require them to bring their parent with them in for a meeting?
Yeah, we have there's going to be several parent touch points that happen. And the Sumner system, we bring all the 8th graders or new 9th graders in because it's, we want to make sure that all of the paperwork and we get them into the right courses, which is similar to the process that's happening across the board. I think the difference is, like Washington has sent out, we've always had a night scheduled for that, and we've always had processes in place because we knew there were going to have to be a number of different touch points to get those students into the right foreign language class or get them into the, as we move forward, the right IB career pathway.
But do you require the parents to come?
Yes. And this will go maybe to both Ms. Drew and Ms. Yeager's point, who are both making the same exact point, which is we have a process. Mm-hmm. We haven't communicated it in all ways as good as we could, but we do have a process. But what we do on our end, and I can only speak to Sumner, is if we have parents and there's loose paperwork hanging out, mm-hmm. we go find them. And we get it taken care of. And I know that that's happening across all of our schools. That's how we get all of that information in. But I don't think it's as uniform as it needs to be, which is why this menu has to exist.
So will we require the parents to come to the other high schools like you do at Sumner?
I think all of the high schools and middle schools are requiring parents to come, whether they come or not.
Right, you can't make them come.
So we can't make them come, but what I'm hearing is that we need to ensure that they have opportunities to hear the information. Maybe it's FaceTime, maybe it's this. We will find a way to try to address all of our parents if possible.
So that they understand they're expected to come, just like they're expected to come to enroll their child
at Sumner. I think expected versus required is key language.
Yes. Because in the past it hasn't been expected.
But just as a parent, and I don't think all parents have to come. If they're sending home the course selection, if you're able to go into Infinite Campus and you understand it, I don't need to come. If I have that conversation with my child at home, I don't have to come into the school. That's for them to explain to me what's going on in the school. So I want us to make sure we understand where we're going. I don't want everyone to feel that we've got to have 1,600 ninth grade parents coming into our buildings to get access. That's not true. We have Infinite Campus, and all we have to do is post it out there in Infinite Campus. The student, what they're saying is the counselor speaks to that 8th grade student or that 5th grade student. And so it's posted in there, or whatever the student is, and they've explained it. They can look at the course selection. Then they go home, Mom, Dad, these are the courses that I want to take. This is how I do it. And once it's back uploaded in there, then the counselor is able to retrieve that information to create the master schedule, to populate the master schedule. I think what we're doing, I don't want us to get to an archaic way of doing things where we have to come in and do paper and pencil. We invested a lot of money in these Apple and in Infinite Campus. So we have to make the work do the work. And we just have to communicate that work out to our parents and out to our community. And in the event that they need to come, it's going to be there. And I don't even want it to seem as though we are going to be mandate every school to look alike. That takes away from their authenticity. And so but it's got to have some boundaries where they have to operate in. But I don't want us to say or walk away from here thinking that every school, every middle and high school will request every parent to come in for scheduling. That's actually, we hadn't done that in years. And so I don't want us to go back. I want us to use our technology, and we have to force them to use Infinite Campus. And if you have a question, then definitely you come to the school, and the schools will be offering it. When we can't actually compare Sumner to the others because Sumner is pulling from all of the middle schools throughout the district, so that's an outlier. However, our feeder patterns have to look a little different, and so we have to set up things for our feeder pattern. So that will be a more in-depth conversation with our school leaders and making sure, but we have to be open to it. But I don't want us to say that you will do this. We have to make sure that there's that we are available to our parents, and that we have students have email, parents have email. We have to make sure that we are exercising. If I can't get there, we don't want that to be an excuse. And we don't want our teachers to have to stay there all days of the night because because we have that communication piece. We can now, as you were saying, there's technology that can drive that home, but we have to also be able to answer the telephone if they are in question or respond to emails. So I want us to make sure that we are just, again, we're not advocating for every child, every parent to come into the school to do master scheduling, because that's not actually how the process works with master scheduling.
And to Dr. Faust's point, and he's already articulated it perfectly, but last year at Sumner, we ran a second event that we've never run before. It was an open house, and it was just a showcase open house, but we had parents who were calling us in a panic when they had something that they had planned and they couldn't be there, and were very concerned that they couldn't attend. And it took us a lot of walking back and really communicating, letting parents know this is a showcase, it's a fun event, you know, it's okay if you don't show up. But I think we see it as Dr. Faust mentioned, our schools are all different, and so I think the line to shoot for in our parent involvement is make sure that they get there and get their questions answered, whether it's answered on an email from me or whether they want to sit and talk to Mr. Marcos or to any of the other principals, whoever it might be. There just needs to be lots of ways and open communication and no unanswered phone calls. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And it may also be advantageous for us to actually just show our board what a course request looks like and how we do it on Infinite Campus. And that way you can answer questions for those who are reaching out to you. Because I think that you'll be surprised of how quickly and simple it is. It's a click of a button in your classes and it's populated. It's literally a 3-minute process.
I like to add too that I expect different things to happen with this process because our teachers, our administrators, and our parents are more aware of Infinite Campus now because we've had it for a while and they're getting real good about using it now. So I think it's going to increase and not be as confusing. I really do. And then the other thing I would add is that many of the high schools have been doing selling of their academies all year long. They've had events all year long and invited the middle schools and even the elementary schools to come up to see the academies. So I think there's a little more knowledge out there. Can we do better? Yes, and we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty now.
All right, we've come to the consent agenda. Any items need to be set aside? Any items any member want to set aside? I need a motion to accept the consent agenda, please.
I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Payment of bills. Questions about payment of the bills?
Make a motion that we pay our bills.
I second.
Been moved and seconded to pay the bills. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Next item is board calendar. Dr. Faust, you did mention that you would add the date of the Diploma Plus meeting. When's the next Diploma Plus meeting?
Can Dr. Strickland or Sarah, can you? We have a steering committee.
Correct.
Is it the 19th?
Yes, February 19th.
7:30. It's at 7:30 in rooms 131, 1 through 131 and 133.
This is for who?
Block of room, the steering committee for Diploma Plus. Tuesday, February 19th.
19th, 7:30 in the morning?
Yes.
And your bond meetings are when?
It's February 11th.
Oh, that's with that OCMA. And they are once, what, a week? I don't know, I don't see the.
Monthly.
Monthly, okay. Any other questions about the board calendar? Our next meeting is
February
12th, TA Edison.
Madam President, you had said that, recommended that board members be a part of the planning of the meeting so we can get experience to understanding the process?
Correct. It was moved and seconded that we would have an additional board member meet when we establish the agenda. And we have been meeting actually via conference call. So Dr. Yeager asked for February. I would ask for volunteers for March, April, May, or June. Otherwise, we can draw straws, but it seems like it's just as easy for you all to volunteer. We meet about twice a month. We have Ms. Westfall and Dr. Faust present a draft agenda. We discuss those items and then add, like in this case, we would have perhaps added the discussion we just had, but still there's always an opportunity at the board meeting to amend the agenda. So I would entertain Ms. Jones, Ms. Humphreys, Mr. Brown, Ms. Drew, which March, April, May, or June, which would you care to participate? Ms. Yeager chose February.
I'm available anytime, so it doesn't matter. If any of them have to adapt, I'll pick up.
Okay. March, April, May, or June?
Second.
March looks good for me.
Okay. And we'll, of course, notify you a week in advance and time, and the conference call number or where the location if it's on ground.
Okay, you took March.
Correct. Mr. Brown took March.
Okay.
Dr. Yeager's February, Mr. Brown is March.
I can do April.
Ms. Humphreys, April.
I'll do May.
Like June? Ms. Jones?
Yeah.
Or we can, whichever. All right. So that should answer your question, Dr. Yeager.
It would help if we knew as soon as possible what days you meet.
Correct. We'll determine based on his schedule. But essentially, it's the Thursday or Friday before the board meeting, but we'd like to get it a little bit earlier because we'd like to get the data to board members before then. So we have time to, if you have questions, send comments.
And then also at the retreat, it was brought up committee and recommendations. So were those recommendations due to you, or was there a certain day that, or time for us to
We
recommend?
were looking at the 1st of February to get started, so we would say, I would say within the next, 1st of February is Friday.
Yeah.
So, now that we know. Sometime this week, we had mentioned at least a finance committee, a communications committee, could be facilities, but send your comments, send your suggestions to Dr. Faust, if you can by Friday, of establishing temporary committees, subcommittees, to discuss the business. And so if that happens, then we can discuss it and when we meet, and hopefully report out by the February 12th meeting. And then we had to figure out what then the responsibility of the committee, and of course, you know, the makeup only can be 3 members, and how then we will choose to be on that member.
Dr. Faust, do you have some suggestions for committees that you could send out to us that you would like to see?
Sure. Well, of course, yes, I'll send out some recommendations. And
that would be helpful.
Okay. We'll look at doing that this week. And again, it's a growing organization. Living organism. How about that? Any other questions on the timeline? Otherwise, you have a comment?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
One comment that tomorrow we will be closed for students. The district office will be open. And that's just a reminder for anyone who's calling, because we're getting questions about sports events. Schools are closed. When schools are closed, sports events are canceled. If it's too cold to come to school, it's too cold to play games.
Dr. Faust will be operating on a C day.
Yeah, Plan C.
Plan C.
Yeah, my granddaughter's on the ball. She wants to go. No school tomorrow.
Minus 25, no school.
What's Plan C?
Without the...
Central office is open and no school.
Central
Do you want to explain?
Oh, I just reminded her which was C.
Okay. Do you need further explanation?
I forgot about it.
Without hearing none, motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
So move. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. Stay warm tomorrow.